In this session, we'll be continuing with privacy in engineering. So, Ushula helped us understand how privacy is applied in the actual present scenario, where she went through some of the principles of privacy by design. In this session, we'll try to understand how can we actually use them to help organizations develop more privacy enabled app. Is it a technical session? Not thoroughly. It's more about process and how we support the IT organizations. When we talk about privacy by design principle, whether it's being proactive and doing the security, privacy by default, privacy by design, or keeping customer trust. These all feel good, but it's very hard to quantify them. So in this session, we'll try to make sure that we are able to quantify them and we are able to put a structure to it. As for me, I am the head of technical staff, a director of privacy technology at Tsaaro. I was previously a solution architect, so anything I'm more comfortable working with the clouds, AWS, Azure, rather than policies. So, guys, this is me. So, privacy engineering. So, it's if you go by the definition, it is the practice of actually developing processes and tools which can help organization build apps uh, which have privacy embedded in them. And as for me, I would say this is the actual quantification of privacy by design framework, where we try to put all of these principles in practice. Because we can say privacy by default, you can put security, you can put where, but in the end, it's all data, and that is where you apply it. So we can be if you're doing dealing with the policies and this, we are able to help set the guidelines for the organizations, but the actual what to say guardrails where they are applied, that is data. Moving forward, what it actually covers and why privacy by design is important. Because guys, IT development has been there for a long time. People have struggled with it. They say it's technical, but it also has a managerial side of it. And we as privacy professionals and DPO have a responsibility to help the management understand the nitty-gritties of privacy. And one of them is making things predictable. If they're building an app that is using PII data, are they compliant? Will they be compliant? If they build an app taking 1 year to develop it, will it be again will it take another 6 months to make sure that it is compliant or not? These are things which uh, we can put it in the design phase itself. When we are talking about design phase, it's always a what to say a buzzword. This is build, this is design. So design phase is essentially where you are gathering your requirements and you're mapping them to your technology. Okay, these were my uh, 20 requirements which I wanted from my product, and this is the technology maybe that can help me now integrate them. And then you come up with the design that okay, this data will go to this hardware, will be used by this software. So essentially, what you can relate it to your data flow diagram. As privacy professionals, we have seen multiple data flow diagrams throughout the industry. So that is also a sort of a design, just that it is produced mostly much more afterwards. Manageability, how what to say how the data is being managed. Is it possible for a system to support a DSR request? Is it possible that it is able to delete the data? Is it able to support retention schedules? So this is all helps there. Then there is disassociability. Now, this is again a buzzword that is coming up because of various AI related models, related models and data analytics, which is using that user data, but the user do not want it. They do not want that their data should be used everywhere, but the organizations need it for their operational work. They needed to build their system good. If we say that, okay, Google, you cannot use a voice to train your system, then again, the Google name, I would say I'm a Amazon guy, so I'll stick with Alexa. So the Alexa cannot grow better. But do we actually need to give, but still we do not want to give our data. Then what should these organizations do? They need to come up with a plan that does associate the privacy elements from the non-private ones. This can be done through data anonymization or maybe generating synthetic data. But all these things are necessary so that the customer feel confident. Okay, you are using something, but you cannot trace it back to me. Moving on to the next thing, uh, how does it look in practice? So when we are talking about uh, implementing privacy by design, then or privacy engineering, then what exactly do we want to cover? So I discussed about designing and collating requirements. That being said, what will you cover in the design phase, or what exactly is your aim? Our aim is mostly to support privacy operations, that is like data retention, data subject request. These two are essential to make sure that because these are the two main uh, operations that when it comes to privacy and applications. Another thing that is not totally operational would be data security and data protection. So that is also there. Code reviews is essential to make sure that when from the managerial aspect of things, when an organization agrees that okay, this is the data we'll be collecting, then the coder should not add additional field or additional entry point for a PII field that the organization, the management does not know about. So code reviews become quite necessary, and we see a lot of tools. Recently, we saw Privado coming up, where they scan the code and uh, let the organization or the management people know, okay, this is what is there in your code, and maybe a new PII field has been added. Have you approved it? So these code reviews are not technical code reviews. These are related to PII data. So very necessary. Data minimization is, I would say, it's on the requirement phase. It's for the product owners. It should be there where we help them question why exactly do we need this data. Do you need only the email ID, or do you actually need the phone number? So these are questions that these are what to say principles that help us get privacy engineering in practice. If we move to the next one, then the core elements which are there. Now, guys, if you look at the core elements, the best part of this slide is you will see PIA and risk assessment being there to make sure that we do not hide processes behind technology. We can talk about pipelines, we can talk about databases, we can talk about encryptions, but PIA and risk assessment have to be part of that process. Whether you use tools for it or you do it manually, that is a different part. We discussed about data flow diagrams and how they can be related to the actual design, and how requirements are necessary. But still, I would say this thing should be highlighted that privacy impact assessment and risk assessment are two main things, are two main pillars when it comes to privacy engineering. It has to be embedded into the process. Privacy management and semantics is more related to how you understand the customer and make sure you're able to build trust with them. Privacy management is setting up the whole program and how the business expectations can align with the actual privacy practices. So these are, what to say, something which we expect. Okay, this is the flow that is there, but process and technology works hand in hand when it comes to privacy engineering. It's not all tech. So that is why I say that this session becomes the quantification of the privacy by design principles. Because when we say design, we feel that it's all techy, but it's not. This is the framework that is there uh, for a product development life cycle. Now, how a product is developed, let's first go through that, and how privacy professionals can help there. Normally, it's the product development follows phases like design, planning, building, testing, release, all buzzwords, quite technical, I would say, but it's always good to know the definition. If you know the definition of build, where the actual development happens, where the coding is done, it does not necessarily mean that you have to code. If we are saying that the things are getting designed, it necessarily does not mean that you are the one who develops that diagram. Same for release, same for testing. If you see beside that, uh, we have associated with what to say, privacy practices or the privacy processes that should be coupled with them. When an application design and requirement engineering is being done, privacy design and development should also happen. Now, what do we mean by privacy design? It means that we should have all the requirements or the regulatory requirements for that particular application documented. We should, in the design phase itself, we'll have a certain uh, data model ready, or the data which the application would use. So we can do the PIA here itself. For privacy requirement design, again, when this thing comes, we can give the requirements to the technical team. Now we can just validate it. Okay, guys, you will be using this database, that database, you will be putting okay, we can understand you are using this encryption, that encryption. We do not understand this. But what we need to know is you are you planning to send data out of a particular jurisdiction or not? If it's GDPR, are you planning to send data outside Europe or not? Are you, even your backups, are they planned in EU region or not? Okay, you're building a an application. We do not expect you to support DSR and automatically, but do you have a process for it? If I raise a DSR, if there is a data subject access request coming in, can you support it? Maybe manually, but how will you do it? Is your database ready for it? Do you know where you're storing which data? Is your PII data, the data source is tagged? Okay, they are storing PII data. When you're coming to testing, have you anonymized your data or not? And even anonymization, guys, it can have multiple layers. Is it uh, anonymization on the screen, where you say that okay, your even your customer support people cannot say the names or the credit card numbers, or is it just the testing end? So we can prepare a control framework through which we can ask these questions. We are not coding, we are not going into technology, but we are setting the right controls, we are asking the right questions. So that is where why even as non-technical people, we can help the organization uh, embed privacy in applications. For testing, verification, okay, you agreed that DSR will be done this way, the data retention would be done that way. Uh, Nobody will be able to see the data. You're using your encryption wherever you're sending data, wherever you're storing data. Now prove it. Can I send you a DSR request in the testing environment itself? What is the how did you produce your test data if it was not taken from prod? If it's not user data, how did you do it? Okay, you synthesized it, maybe, or you just used garbage values. It's a process, guys. We did not actually use the tool. We did not actually produce that garbage data, but we asked the right question. So that is how, that is very necessary. So when it comes to privacy engineering, it has its process part, it has its technical part. If you're a technical guy, good enough. If you're a process guy, you're not a bystander, you're very much involved in the process. If you have any questions, guys, please feel free to drop in. I'll answer them as I get your questions. If you have questions later on, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can throw in your messages and questions. I'll answer them. Moving to the next slide, implementation and organization. Locating data can be mapped to data discovery. It's very easy for small organizations or organizations which are starting to build their products. They know where they are storing because it's all there in the design. They have mapped and tagged the data sources. But as the organization grows, so I come from Amazon, so you know how Amazon grew and how large it is. So do everyone know what data is stored where? No. There are tens and thousands of engineers working on thousands of applications. Not everybody knows where the data is. Locating data is essentially a very big challenge for organizations. That's why we see tools like OneTrust, Tsaaro coming in with their data discovery modules, helping data organizations realize where the data is stored. Data system design for, I would say, legacy systems. They use quite old code and hard to connect, hard to customize. So that is always a challenge for people. If it is a new system, sometimes it becomes easy because cloud services, they can be integrated together. So a sort of a technical stuff. Can you live without it? Yes, you can. Very plain and simple. Is it necessary? Yes. Do you need to create controls for it? Yes. Do you need to fully understand it? No. Data usability. This is one of the what to say, one of the process, one of the area where it becomes necessary for organization to hear out a privacy professional how they are going to use their data, because with regulation, different regulations coming in, there's also a change of consent that is happening. If person wants to delete his or her data, if they do not want it to be used for marketing, the organization should know how they're using the data first of all. If they do not know, how will they able to what to say delete it or maybe change its purpose? So this become very necessary, and this becomes a tackle point for the privacy professionals and the business, or I would say the IT team. Lack of standards is again a difficulty, guys, because uh, you know everybody likes to say data is oil. And what do we mean by that? You like to burn it to smoke. You want to use it for everything that is possible. So there are no best practices saying where exactly you stop. Even in SDLC, cutting out testing data, what to say, cutting out production data from testing environment. It's again a big thing. Now, organization is thinking how they have to produce test data. It becomes a large question. So I have a question from uh, Goranga, that how data privacy principles help in data governance process. So guys, essentially, if you see, data privacy is growing and it will eventually become a part of data governance process, because for large organizations who have silos of data, they will be forced to first come up with a data governance framework and then apply data privacy. Because uh, if you do not know how the organization is using its data, or you do not have a control over how the data is being processed, because we always think about, okay, this data should not be shared outside the organization, or this data should be deleted at certain point of time. But what about intra-company transfer of data? So Gauranga, I would say privacy by design is something, and privacy principles essentially, with something which will make data governance stringent and more defined and with a purpose. Earlier, organizations would go for data governance because they want to use the data they have more extensively. Or maybe if it's a financial organization or it's a financial data, they'll do it for regulations. But now they need to know how your data has been stored and where the PII is. Because if you do not have those standards set, you will not be able to do even the intra-company transfer, because it will change the purpose for which you collected the data. You cannot send any data to the marketing team anymore. Organization, how they should start with it, I would say privacy impact assessment. Essentially, I have mentioned it earlier also. This cannot be thrown away. Cookie notice, privacy notice, it's more towards the website. It's the first step which organizations take towards privacy. Set up, what to say, do everything goody goody on their website. Trust is, I would say, it's the killing of dark patterns. You can build your DSR forms and hide it somewhere. If you are sending out marketing mails, you can just make sure that the unsubscribe button or unsubscribe mechanism is hard to follow up. So loses trust. So if you want to build trust, cut out these dark patterns. It's a necessity. So I would say internally, the company should follow a zero trust architecture, and outside it should build trust with people. So mantra for today, guys. This brings us to the end of session. If you have any questions regarding this, if you feel that even if you have a technical question regarding this, or maybe related to governance, like Auranga, or if you find you need to know something about the process, in all three conditions, please feel free to reach out to me, or you can add your comments. I'll answer them as soon as possible. Here we have what to say, the benefits of privacy engineering. So I think so. The best benefit that it has is making things smoother, making the organization enabled to handle uh, privacy obligations that they have, and building customer trust. That is how privacy engineering helps. So guys, you can scan this QR code and participate in the quiz. It's a very easy quiz, not a technical one again. So it would not be difficult to follow up on this. And this will help you in your process to getting the certification for the so Gaurang, Venkatesh has asked a question, guys. How the how can startup tech companies approach privacy? Very nice question, guys. And again, we at Tsaaro will be coming up with a white paper for it. That if you're building what to say, an application from scratch, how should you do it? So please follow up. Uh, Venkatesh, I would ask, uh, I can very well answer you right now, but I would say you can wait some time and wait for the white paper, and we'll give you a full-fledged approach for this, because we know that the new tech guys are very enthusiastic about building everything, designing, putting everything in the design so that it's done through a process from the start itself. So we'll be coming up with a white paper, and we'll make sure that that has your answer. Okay, guys. With this, I'll take my leave, and please scan the code. It's a very easy quiz. Go through that. It will give you a better insight. It will help you compile the knowledge that you gained. And have a nice day.